Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Today we will discuss first canto, and we will start with the second chapter, verses 1 to 10. So first verse 1. Vyasa vacha itis sampashna samrishto vipranam ramahakshani pati puja vachastesham pavaktam upasakrami. Read the verse. Translation. Ugrasrapa Sutta Goswami, the son of Ramaharshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmins, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. That purport. The sages of Namisaranya asked Sutta Goswami 6 questions, and he's answering them one by one. Om Akyanati Mandasya Janansanasanakan Shaktunvitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Nama Chitayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Ramrupkadam Yam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Shiyo Shiyuda Padakamam Shigam Vaishnavam Sa Upam Jagadatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Irada Krishna Padam Saganadita Shikshakam Vitam Sam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Tyatpate Gopesha Kopka Kanta Radhikanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gauri Radhe Vrindavanishve Vishavana Sutta Devi Pranamama Hari Pankha Kalpta Vishakhi Pasin Vevasha Patnam Vanavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavin Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinavadi Paskacharani Tasattarani. So I read the first text again. Ugastra Sutta Goswami, the son of Roma Harshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmins, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. So what happened before in the first chapter, in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva has offered his obeisance to his Ishtadev by citing Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then the sages of Namisaranya, they glorify Sutta Goswami, the speaker of the Bhagavatam, in verse 118. Vetotvam sanyatat sarvam, because you are submissive, you receive the blessings. They also worshipped Sukadev Goswami, and they said that we are accepting you as the captain of the boat in text 22. You are the captain of the boat, of the ship. Please guide us, because we desire to cross over the difficult ocean of Kali. So in the first verse of the second chapter, Sutta will worship his guru. His guru is Sukadev Goswami. So Sutta Goswami was there when Sukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam, Maharaj breaks it. So the line of Parampara is continuing. Inspired by the great eagerness of the sages, Sutta will also speak. And he will answer the first two questions of the sages very quickly in verses 6 and 7. And at the end of the chapter, he will answer the next two questions. And the last question will be answered in the third chapter. So we are aware of the future conditions of the people of this age. So, because Sutta Goswami said before, yes, waarin opus establish Kalabas met zich geest, that in this age of Kali, people will be short-sighted, always disturbed, lazy in terms of self-realization. So Sutta Goswami is going to give us the essence of the scriptures in a few instructions describing the process of bhakti in this chapter, this second chapter. Because the sages are searching for the truth, for Krishna, now that Krishna has left the planet. So they want to know how to find Krishna. In the second verse, Sutta will explain the paradharma. And in two verses more, he will explain Kaitava Dharma and what is the goal of life, of how an ashram is meant for pleasing Lord Krishna. In verses 14 to 22 of this chapter, he will explain how to act in relation with the truth. That's the entire process of bhakti in a few verses. Now we know what is the truth. And then how should we act as if we know what's the truth? In verses 14:22 to 22, he will explain the process of bhakti and the stages we need to go through. And after that, he described the different kinds of worship of the demigods, but he explains Rajamsi. What is the best thing? The best thing is worship of Vishnu. At the end, he will describe the Purusa incarnations and their goal. Krishna comes to create in our heart a desire to go back to Godhead. Today we will discuss the first verses. Sutta Goswami is worshipping Sukadev Goswami. And what is real Dharma? The next section in chapter 2 will be discussed in next time. And that is about how to relate to the absolute truth. So that's an introduction, more or less, of this chapter. Now, text 2. Sutta vacham yam pravayantam anupetamapetakrityam vaipachano vyakatara achuhava putretitan mayataya taravo binedus tat sarva bhutta ritayam munimant anatasmi. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto that great sage, Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed in the higher caste, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son, indeed only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father.'" So Sukadev Goswami, he had a glorious birth. Actually, Sukadev Goswami did not want to come out of the womb. He stayed in the womb for 16 years Was, of course, poor mother for ladies, 1 year is quite enough. But he was determined not to get entangled in Maya. When he finally came out, he took sannyas. He took sannyas at birth. At birth. In the Sanskrit, it says pravayantam. You leave home as parivrakacharya. Usually you have to go through so many samskaras according to the Vedic system. In the Vedas it is such, Janmani Jayate Sudra. Everyone is born Sudra. So the samskara Bhavat via through performance of reformative rites, samskars, one becomes Vidya. Veda Pata Bhavat Vipra. One studies the Vedas and one becomes a Vipra. Brahmachanatiti Brahman. And when you understand what is Brahman, then you become a Brahman. That Sukadev Goswami did not go through any of the ceremonies Anupetam without the sacred thread ceremony. He did not care about even who his father was. He did not look back. He did not care. He just took sannyas. So in verse 3, we will hear more about the glories of Sukadev Goswami. Why is qualified? That Yasvanubhavam Akinashutishamekam Atyatmadipam Atitirsatam Tamundam Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Goyam Tam Vyasa Sunnam Upayami Gomuninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto Sukha, and to him Sukha, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkness regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of the Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. So in the Sanskrit word, we find Svanubhavan. In Prabhupada's lecture, and according to this verse, Srila Prabhupada gave 3 definitions. Here in the Sanskrit, the definition is self-assimilated. Srila Prabhupada writes that one must assimilate personally the Vedas. The Srila Prabhupada gave the meaning, Svarubhavam, as personally convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So another definition Srila Prabhupada gives in a lecture is appreciating and understanding the nature of God. So although we may not be as realized and assimilated as Sukadev Goswami, we can appreciate the nature of Krishna. This is our level of realization. We can see that the sun is I. This is our level we can appreciate. How he works through his devotees in this world, Anubhava, is also Shruti Saram, the cream of the Vedas. The cream of the Vedas in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shruti Saram. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedasta Sarver Ameva Vedya. I'm the goal of the Vedas. This verse 3 is also a summary of the first 3 verses and Purana Guyam, the most confidential essence of the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam is also described as Adhyatma Dipa. Dipa means light. So without a light from a lamp, we cannot see. We can see Atma with the Dipa or the light of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So why do we need a light? Tanandam, we are in ignorance. We are in darkness. If it wasn't for the sun, we could not see the real nature of this world. It is a very deep darkness, tama andam. So we are in a tunnel. We are in the dark. We need a light. We need Srimad Bhagavatam to get us out and go back to the spiritual world. We need to see through the Srimad Bhagavatam. Who is the light for? Atitir Shatam. It is to get out, to overcome. Atitir Shatam means that those who are desiring to overcome, those who are actually want to get out. Some people may say, why should we get out? We can make it a better place for everyone to live. No pollution, grow more trees, peace. But Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, this is in the second paragraph, there is no point in arguing that a materialistic man can be happy. Srila Prabhupada says you can be happy. Otherwise, others says everything is all right. No, materialistic creature, be the great Brahma and so on, they are controlled by the laws of material nature. So Srila Prabhupada describes how they try to enjoy but it says they taste their own blood. Similarly to the materialist, his own blood is as sweet as honey. And although he is always harassed by his own material creations, he does not wish to escape. So what is the example of being harassed by one's own material creation? Today we hear about the nuclear threat. They are going to drop atom bombs. That's a good example. But also our material body. That's our own creation. That gives us so much trouble. That we are paying for all material conveniences by our karma lobha, krodha and lobha. It doesn't stop. That we try to satisfy our bodies, the lust of our bodies, but lobha means I want more and more and more. One remains unsatisfied and there becomes krodha, anger. They don't want to get out. That's the problem. Karmis, they don't want to get out. That the jnanis, only they want to get out of the labyrinth, that's all. They study Vedanta, but misuse it. And therefore Srila Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam out of compassion for all these miserable living entities. He is Muninam, not only Guru, but the Guru of the sages. And Sukadeva Goswami arrived at the back of the Yamuna, where the sages were assembled. Everyone stood up out of respect. Now we will have our prayer every day. Okay, text the sages stood up out of respect. Text 4, the famous verse. Narayanam namaskritya naram shiva narotam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jyamudiyayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of God at Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So according to the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, This is spoken by Narayana Rishi to Narada Muni a long time ago. And then Narada Muni taught it to Vyasa. Brahma explained it to Narada Muni. It came through the disciplic succession. We will hear about that in the second canto. That Pujan Prabhu commented. He said, Nara and Narayan are the presiding deities of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Saraswati is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Interesting. In the last sentences of the purport, there we have, see, you can find it, Srila Sutta Goswami shows the way of chanting the Puranas. This may be followed by persons who aspire the preachers of the Vedic literature and the Puranas. Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless Purana, and it is especially meant for those who desire to get out of the material entanglement permanently. And if we recite, then we do always Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Then we will cross the ocean of material existence. Text 5. Munaya sadhu kristoham bhavatpir lokamangalam yat kritakasha samprashno yanatma supasiddhati. O sages, I've been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So we see all around us there are questions and answers in newspapers today on the internet. So when Srila Prabhupada was commenting on this verse, he told that this Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, used to write a newspaper explaining news of the spiritual world. So this is very relevant, as the question is about the spiritual world. It is about Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was publishing a daily newspaper. Someone asked him, how is it possible to publish a daily newspaper about the spiritual world? He answered, yes, actually this material world is only 1/4 of the total creation. And the spiritual world is 3/4. And in this material world there are innumerable universes. And each universe has innumerable planets. And in each city, so many newspapers. So why can't we have a newspaper of the spiritual world? Not only that, we can publish a newspaper every minute or every second of the day. The problem is that there are no customers. So these are relevant questions and answers. We find that in the spiritual happiness, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta is very happy to speak when a devotee asks questions. This is the preacher's happiness. This is Loka Mangalam, auspicious for the whole world, because it concerns questions about Krishna. Krishna Samprashna. So in the purport, in the third paragraph, every sentence has some essence into it. In this paragraph, Srila Prabhupada gives us a wonderful news about the spiritual world. He writes, Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, and so on, an object of conjugal love. Forgetting Krishna, we have created so many objects of questions and answers, but none of them are able to give us complete satisfaction. All things but Krishna gives temporary satisfaction only. So if we are to have complete satisfaction, we must take to the questions and answers about Krishna. So if we want satisfaction, then we should take to the questions and answers about Krishna. We cannot live for a moment without being questions or without giving answers, because the Srimad Bhagavatam deals with questions and answers that are related to Krishna. We can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this transcendental literature. One should learn the Srimad Bhagavatam and make an all-around solution to all problems pertaining to social, political, or religious matters. Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna are the sum total of all things. So it is a very poetic, beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. It gives many essential statements in this purport. And if you hear the question and answers about Krishna, then Jayatma Shubha Siddhati, you will feel completely satisfied. So there is so much advancement in science and education, but no one is satisfied because we are missing Krishna. So now, after this, in verse 6, 7, Sutta Goswami will explain what is religion, what is paradharma. In verse 8, he will explain what is religion not, what is kaita dharma. In verses 9 and 10, he describes religion for sense gratification, and that should be kicked out again, kaita dharma. So human life, he will say, is meant for inquiring about Brahman. In verse 11, he will explain the goal of religion. In verse 12, how the devotee realizes the absolute truth. And then verse 13, the perfection of Dharma is to please Lord Hari. And in verses 14 to 22, how to act in one's relationship with Krishna. From Shraddha to Prema, how to practice this paradharma. But now first text 6, what is religion? This is a famous verse. Savaikum saparo dharma yato bhaktiyadoksya ahaita kaptiyata yatma siddhati. The supreme occupation of dharma for all humanity is that by which one can attain loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the soul. So, in this verse and the next verse answers the first two questions of the sages. What is the ultimate good for all people, the Shreyas? And what's the essence of the scriptures? Srila Prabhupada many times speaks about Dharma in his lectures. There are the definitions he gives of this verse. He often quotes this verse. Some are from the purport and some are from lectures of other sources. But he writes, Srila Prabhupada, the Dharma means a specific characteristic that you cannot change, like sugar is sweet, water is wet, chili is hot. And we living at this, we are servants, we cannot change that. So this is the characteristic, if you cannot change. The Dharma is enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this service is given to us by Krishna. This is the essence of religion. That is also mentioned further in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 6.3.19, where Yamaraj instructs the Yamadutas. Dharmam tu saksa bhagavat pranitam navai vidurifishayo napadivana siddhamukya sramanushya puto navidyadaracharanadaya. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, Even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, or Vidyadharas or Charanas. This verse explains how religion is given by Krishna. Then Krishna comes to re-establish Dharma. Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Dharmasam Stapanastayam. Therefore, Bhagavad is explaining the nature of Dharma. The Bprs from Samparo Dharma, what leads to Bhakti? What leads to Bhakti? It is Dharma. Whatever you do, if it leads to Bhakti, then when it leads to Bhakti, then it's real religion. Bhagavad Dharma means one's relationship with God and how to act in that relationship. So that is also Dharma, Bhagavad Dharma. So in the purport, there is also a definition in the second paragraph. We have purposely denoted Dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word Dharma is that which sustains one's existence. Thus our occupation is what sustains us. We have our occupation for our sustenance. Our real occupation is servant, not to maintain our body. Our real occupation is service to Krishna. This is the main thing because this is who we are. Who maintains our existence? In the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he writes, Krishna maintains us. Of all living entities, he's all attractive. Each and every living being has his eternal form in spiritual existence. And Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. So Srila Prabhupada writes, this relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. To sustain our existence, we must connect with Krishna by service. There are two kinds of service, paradharma and aparadharma. Aparadharma means temporary, materially maintaining to the body, the mind, the intelligence. And the second service is the para, the eternal. It's spiritual service pertaining to the soul. So Srila Prabhupada in a lecture, he explains there are bodily occupations of the body, and there are occupations of intelligence and occupations of the soul. Karma yoga is the occupation of the body. Jnana yoga is the occupation of the intelligence. Dhyana yoga is the occupation of the mind. And bhakti yoga is the occupation of the soul. That's interesting. So later on we learn how we make all of them. That bhakti yoga, we turn all of them into bhakti yoga by dovetailing them. Whatever you do, you can dovetail for Krishna, and you can do it. And if you don't do it, then it's explained. Shama eva ikevalam. If you want to have peace, satisfaction, then you have to do bhakti yoga, paramdharma. Paradharma. So this is the message of this verse. What does it mean? Paradharma. Ahaituki, without any motive, no cause. You don't want anything in exchange. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavita charisakamayi. Srila Prabhupada said, another meaning of ahaituki is anywhere. You can perform service everywhere, in heaven or hell. Srila Prabhupada, when he first came to America, he had a room which was a closet. There were no windows and he had no shower. And he was performing his devotional service. He was lecturing. We need so many facilities. The first recordings on lectures of Bhagavad Gita were recorded in this room, with no windows, no bathroom, and his trunk was his desk, and he was sitting on the floor. This was a hierarchy, causeless. He just wanted to follow the orders of his spiritual master. And apratiyata, which means uninterrupted. Nothing can stop your service. It is very similar, actually. Your service cannot be checked. Whatever happens, you may be the poorest person in the world, but you can still serve Krishna. Krishna does not say, you are poor, you cannot serve me, or you don't know Vedanta, so you cannot be my devotee. So even if you don't know Sanskrit, you can still serve Krishna. Even if you are illiterate, you can still serve Krishna. Here, like in Vrindavan, there are two boys who come every morning. This is more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I was there. These two boys, they are in a wheelchair, and I think they have left their bodies in meantime. Their body is completely deformed. They are 18 to 20 years old. They are sitting in their wheelchairs, and they came for Mangal Arti every day. They come for Mangal Arti, they have their japamala, their bodies can't function, but they are doing their service for Krishna. These two boys are actually preaching and writing articles. Who of us can say that we have such a handicap that we cannot serve Krishna? We can't say that we can't serve Krishna because I'm poor or I'm stupid. These boys are really handicapped and they are serving Krishna. Another boy is autistic. He cannot relate to the world. This boy comes every evening for Kirtan and is very enthusiastic to chant Hare Krishna, although in the outside, normal world, they put him in an hospital. He's chanting. There was another boy in Bombay, and he is deaf. By associating with devotees, he started to speak, although he had not spoken since birth. He was preaching to deaf people. In Germany, there is also a girl who is deaf, and her guru told her that she has to write her rounds. It took her 3 hours to write her 16 rounds. There is no handicap. We think we have problems. So many devotees face difficult situations, but it is never stopping their service. And when you have such devotion, then you are satisfied. When you feel satisfied, then you know that your devotion comes to the pure state. Text 7. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktyoga Payochita Chanyatya Sivarhyam Jnana Sayatahaitakam. By rendering devotion service unto the personality of God at Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires total knowledge and detachment from the world. So Srila Prabhupada explains here how pure devotion is sublime. And for the neophytes who are on the threshold, it's very easy. Bhakti is for everyone. It is a science. It's open for the Sudras, the Vaishyas, the women, even for those who are lower than Sudras, but to speak of the Brahmins. In the Chatur Sloka, it is said, Sarvata and Sarvatra. Anywhere and everywhere, you can perform Bhakti. All living entities can do Bhakti. Even the insects, Srila Prabhupada says. There is a quote from the Puranas that says that insects can do Bhakti. So this is very amazing. Even a spider was serving Lord Ram. And if you actually have tasted Bhakti, what is the result? Vairagya and Jnana. That's the result. Vairagya means that you are satisfied in loving Krishna. when you have eaten, you are satisfied. You don't need anyone to tell that you are satisfied. When you love Krishna, then you don't need to go anywhere else for your satisfaction. Just like a small, when it is small, a small child, when it is small, it plays with so many toys that, but when he grows up, the same toys don't attract him anymore. That a devotee is going to higher levels of existence. Srila Prabhupada used to say, just see our Americans and Europeans, they are giving up gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating. They don't need it anymore. So even if you pay them, they won't go. Srila Prabhupada, when I was young, my friend invited me to go to the cinema, but I wouldn't go. This is by Saya. And here again, we have the word ahaituki. The same word in this verse and the previous verse. There is a similarity in the sense that they are both without causes of devotion. But there is a difference also. When your service is without cause, then Krishna will reciprocate and give you Jnana and Vairagya without cause. You perform pure devotional service and you don't know how knowledge and detachment are coming. You did nothing to deserve it. You didn't read books, or you are illiterate, but you are getting knowledge. It is Krishna's mercy. You worship Krishna purely and he gives you intelligence. Tesham satayuknam bhajam pritavurkam dadam buddhi yogam tamni namam upayantite Bhagavad Gita 10:10. You serve me with priti and I give you the intelligence. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, even if the disciple is not taking advantage of the spiritual master's order, he may not take advantage of the spiritual master's books. Still, if he's sincere and devoted, he can get knowledge from Krishna in the heart. This is the verses 10:10 and 10:11 in Bhagavad Gita. These are the Satir Shloki Bhagavad Gita verses. Very important. Srila Prabhupada said, Ahaitakapatyata. Interesting is that the Sanskrit in this verse is the same. We find the same verse practically, except for the last line in the third canto. Canto 3, chapter 32, Teachings of Lord Kapiladev, text 23. There is written, Vasudev Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Payavachayanatyatvahyam Jnana Yat Brahma Darshanam. Jnanam, knowledge, Yat, which Brahma Darshanam. Self-realization, which lead to self-realization. You get knowledge, detachment, and you see the Lord, Brahma Darshanam. So one more causeless result you get when you worship Krishna in pure love. Brahma Darshanam. You will see Krishna face to face. Brahma Darshanam. Now we'll read text 8. Dharmas manusitapum samvivakshana kata suya not padyat yateratim shama evalim kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So you may be a perfect Brahman or Kshatriya, but if it is without Krishna, it's useless. Again, you have to come back and take birth. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the soul, the need of the soul. Without knowing the need of the soul, we simply take care of the cage. We cannot be happy. At the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, so the need of the spiritual soul is that he wants to get out of the limited sphere of material bondage and fulfill his desire for complete freedom. He wants to get out of the covered walls of the universe. He wants to see the free light of the Spirit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is only possible by hearing and chanting of the Supreme Lord. Any occupational activity which does not help one to achieve attachment for hearing and chanting the transcendental messages of Godhead is said herein to be simply a waste of time. Srila Prabhupada writes, even the impersonalists, they want to get out also. They want to see the free light of the Spirit. Srila Prabhupada said, but their activities are also useless. They fly high, but so they fly high, but they don't get shelter, and therefore they come back. 10 to 32. Prayers of the demigods. Yanier Vandaksha Vimuktamaninas Prast Baba Abhisuta Mutaya Aruya Kachena Prampadam Pada Padantia Donatita Yusma Angraya. O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from the position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada writes, there is a kind of bird in India. If you let it out of the cage, then it flies in the fields and starts whistling, and then it flies back into the cage. The bird is thinking, oh, I'm free. Then it thinks, but how shall I eat? Where shall I stay? How will I maintain myself? And then it goes back into the cage. They are the impersonalists. The soul wants relationship, not only freedom from bondage. So how can you live in an impersonal atmosphere? If we try to please Krishna, then we will feel attraction to the message of Krishna. Text 9. Dharmasya yapavaryasya nachtritaya kalpate nachtasya dhamakantasya kamalabhaya ismitaha. All occupational engagement are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to the stages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain for sense gratification. So people are religious for a purpose, for artha. We want some bread or we want some material gain. They are praying for my son, please let him pass his exam. Please give me some money. Please keep me healthy. Performing dharma for artha, material gain. And then when they get their money, what's the money for? The money is for artha, for karma, for enjoyment. But in this verse it says, no. Dharma is for apavarga. Dharma is for moksha. Dharma is for apavarga, for getting out of this material world. So in the material world, we are struggling very hard, so hard that form is coming, that coming out of their mouth. And at the end, there's frustration, parishram. Even if they are working very hard, they are afraid, and ultimately they meet with death, mritya. So here Sutta is saying that religion should not be for making a happy situation in this world. It should be for apavarga, for getting out of this material world. So this is the purpose of dharma. It's not for artha, for getting money, and artha is not for karma. Prabhupada tells a story. It's just, I will mention it very brief. Srila Prabhupada said, people come to Vrindavan, and before they come, they leave their artha with their family. But Srila Prabhupada said, artha is for Krishna. They come to Vrindavan, but Krishna is very intelligent and said, oh, you come to Vrindavan, where is your money? What have you done with your money? that you kept your money for your children and came to love me with your beads. The point is that your dharma and artha and karma, everything should be for Krishna. So there is a warning by Srila Prabhupada. If you are following dharma, don't use artha for enjoyment, especially in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada was lecturing in Vrindavan in 1972. If in Vrindavan you try to enjoy, you certainly become a dog or a monkey, very heavy. You become a Brijvasi, but not the way you want to be. That will be in a different way. So this is from a lecture on 129/1972 at Radha Damodar. Many times Srila Prabhupada said this. So now we are coming to the last verse for today. 10. Kamasyanandya pritya labachiveti chavata chivasya tatvachikhnasa naktoyasya karmabi. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So if you live according to the rules and regulations of bhakti, you can live as such for 100 years. We have these demands, but don't spoil it by overindulgence. If you over-endeavor in sense gratification, you lose your vitality, even at a young age. This verse is also a direct commentary on Vedanta Sutra. The third line, Shivasya Tattva Jijnasa. This life is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. It is a direct commentary on the first verse of Vedanta Sutra, Atata Brahma Jijnas. Atato. Now you have the human form of life. Now what should you do? Brahma Jijnas, you should inquire about the absolute truth. Trying to be happy in this world, it's not possible. Now you have the human form of life. Now you have extra intelligence. What should you do? Atata Brahma Jijnas. Inquire about the absolute truth. Don't try to be happy in this world. You have only a certain amount of happiness, and a certain amount of it is stress. Don't waste your human life in that way. Just as King Rishabhadev teaches to his 100 sons, Nam deo deo bacham niluke kastam kamanarata vidbhujam ye tapo divam putkayena satvam sudye yasmavam sukyam kanantam. Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one has been awarded this human form and should not work hard, even for dogs and hogs that eat stool, it's available. So one should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position for devotional service, because by such activity one's heart is purified. When one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental for material happiness and which continues forever. So don't go for the things that cats and dogs go for. Of course, also, Narada Muni will instruct Srila Vyasadeva in the 5th chapter of this canto. Tashevaito payate takopito dalapye yate yadvamatam yoparata dalapyate dukava anyatos kan kalena savata kabiramasta. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just in course of time, we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. So many lifetimes we have spent like that. But now, this life, you inquire about Brahman. This is the message of this verse on Vedanta Sutra. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? In animal life, this question does not come up in the mind. Only when, where is food? Where can I have sex? And the whole day fighting. So our thoughts should not be on that level. where can I, but it should be on the level, where can I find Krishna? What is the truth? What is my relationship with Krishna? These are the questions. These are relevant questions, like Sutta Goswami said, Sadhu Sadhu Krishna Samprashna. At the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, seekers of the absolute truth are never allured by engagements in sense gratification. Because the serious student seeking the absolute truth is always overwhelmed with the work of researching the truth. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth. And that sort of engagement will make one happy because he will be less engaged in varieties of sense gratification. And what that absolute truth is explained as follows. So that's the next verse. But in other words, we should always be conscious whether our activities will lead to the attraction of hearing and chanting for Krishna. Is this giving me attraction to Krishna? Is this leading me to bhakti? And we should not use the fruits of our bhakti for enjoyment. We can't change our destiny, it's fixed. But we can change our consciousness. This is the message. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-18. If you are searching for the essence, then you are a Paramahamsa. The devotees are Paramdristvani Vartate. So this is the message, the purpose of life. Inquire about the absolute truth. Get some Bandhagyan. Enter in your relationship with Krishna and attain love of God. So that was the section of today. Any questions, please? Comments?
Any questions? Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. So Maharaj, about the dharma and then the previous verse which mentioned I'm just getting back to that verse. The 9th one, Maharaj. So they should never be performed for material gain. Now, grahasthas like me, we need like when we are doing job, one of the question, and it comes to my mind more often, is how we should look towards the career. Should we just be satisfied what is there now and it is going on, even if you don't get more money and more the next title or next level, it is okay because things are going okay? Or should we try to go to the next level and try to get more money, not because we like because I want to get more money, but then we need to plan for future as well, because as we diminish in our age, as our age increases, then earning capacity will reduce. So should we just try now? These, like in my case, these 5 years are important because then I can earn more, and then afterwards it will start going down. So the question comes is, should I just be satisfied what I'm getting now, or should I try to go to the next level?
It depends on your circumstances. If trying to go to the next level means that you have to compromise your sadhana and you don't have time for spiritual life anymore, then it's not a good thing to do. But if you can do it without compromising your daily sadhana and absorption in Krishna consciousness in the morning and the evening, then it's all right. So that is to be considered, because it's not that we are just satisfied. In our job also, we try to give the best to Krishna. That was a hallmark of Bhakti Charamraj. Everything should be first class. So that means first class means also if you perform your job first class, you will make promotion. That's inherent to it. But it should not be at the cost of chanting your rounds or reading for some time in the day. That because you do the job for Krishna, and you will use the money for Krishna. So
Yes.
It depends on the circumstance, really. Does that
But
help?
many times, Maharaj, sorry.
Yeah, please.
So many times it is not clear whether the next job will, because unless you take a chance, you will not know. From high level, we can see, okay, yeah, this particular role, which when I go, yes, it has these responsibilities, so I think I can handle. But unless you go and start working, you wouldn't see where it will really impact your sadhana. So in that case, is it better to just be like not take chance and just be around with existing situation?
Yeah, I would say you can go to the limit, but not over the limit. That yeah, be careful with that. So you have to study with your intelligence and try to get a good idea, because a promotion or not, we are not doing it for promotion, but if you do your job, like I said, first class, and then it will be part of it. They will give you higher responsibilities and so on. But you have to see what you can do within your situation. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, I understood. Like from my perspective, if you allow, just to summarize that, yes, we can within the boundaries we can try. When I say boundaries, means it shouldn't impact our sadhana, our chanting, but we can still try. And when we are doing the job, as Guru Maharaj always said, do first class, and then Krishna will automatically open the doors, next doors.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is what.
That's the point, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's one more question about, you did mention Srila Prabhupada's example about, his friends were calling him to watch a movie, but he was not going. So I think for as a being on computers most of the time, most of us nowadays, we don't get movies, but then we get these reels, right? Like 1 minute, 2 minutes videos where people are presenting something in different views or different topics they are presenting. What are your thoughts about those? Because sometimes some are important, but most of the time it goes from one video to other video automatically, because the way these all websites are designed, they wanted to engage a person continuously. So by the time the person realizes, then 1-2 hours are gone already. So it is, somebody starts with 1 minute video, but then slowly it piles up and then time goes. So the question is, like, what are you, like, in the example of Srila Prabhupada, it was easier to say, oh, I will not see the movie, and then it's done. But in today's world, it doesn't come as a movie, but it comes as a, a topic which sometimes, many people feel interested. So it starts with 1 minute or 2 minute video, and then it goes on. So in that case, what are your views, and plus what are your advice, how we can control?
Yeah. I would say that I'm using the internet like I'm concerned because I'm preaching in the Ukraine about the situation in the Ukraine. So every day I read the headlines of the news. I read also the headlines because I want to know how it will affect my traveling. I'm traveling constantly. But besides that, I avoid reading things on other topics just very quickly. And yeah. But like you said, there is a danger because advertisements come between and this and that if you don't really need it, if it's not substantial, very important for your service, avoid it. So we have to put priorities. What's important, what's not important. And what's not important, we just don't do. So that is what I would advise. Make these priorities and then create a discipline to follow your decision. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Just to check that if I understood correctly, so you're saying we need to have the priority in place and then follow that priority. So we should have some discipline and follow that discipline.
Yeah, do only what's necessary.
Only
Really necessary.
Yes, yes, madam. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dhanavad Pranam.
Mother Prema Prana.
Maharaj, when you were reading, it's mentioned that austerity, we take voluntary austerity. So I was thinking, yes, we should, but sometimes we break down by taking voluntary. So how to manage without we break down, take volunteer?
Yeah, I will just repeat what Bhakti Charamaj told me about that. He said, like a weightlifter, he starts with 1 kg at every side, and gradually, day by day, he goes further. But it doesn't start with the big austerities, with the big weight. So you have to build up that capability to do austerities, that gradually, and know your own limits. And that's important. We need the body for service and so on. That so remain within your own limits, know your own limits. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. But sometimes we feel this is also necessary, so but it's beyond our capacity. So how to handle that?
Yeah, so the answer is you build up your capacity gradually. That gradually. Don't fall back. That every day you build it up. That Guru Maharaj wants us to fast fully on Ekadashi, but if you cannot do it, start with half a day fasting. And then try to go further. But try to go further. Gradually. Without, yeah, and you will build it up. That, and then it becomes normal. Then it's no austerity anymore. I'm a sannyasi. I'm taking some fruits in the morning and I eat at lunch. And that's it. I never take dinner or something. For years I'm not taking dinner now. That unless there is a big jet lag between or something, I don't do that. And that becomes normal. I don't have that need. I even don't think about food. But you have to build it up gradually. In the beginning, I could not do that. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, kind of. I have to figure it out the ways that.
Yeah, make it a small endeavor, little by little. That austerity is the wealth of the Brahman, but you have to build it up.
Okay, Maharaj.
Good.
Thank
you very much. So I was happy to be with you, and I look forward to see you next Wednesday for the next section. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bol.